talk about time, rest, and grind culture with you all today. And, I like to be a little bit informal, so feel free to interrupt me at any point. I am new to Google Meet, so I don't quite know how to see myself and or you while I'm presenting. So use your voice. You don't need to just use text because I may see it. Maybe I will, but maybe not. So feel free just to shout out. And so I'll just go for about 20 minutes, but we'll with some questions to engage you, and then we'll have lots of time for even further discussion afterwards. Okay, so let me press play. Okay. Well, the overview of how I'd like to spend this time is first just talking about the why, like my why as well. Hold on one second. The new platform for me. Okay, here we go. Now we go. Okay. Why and what is chronemics? Talking about the cultural narratives on productivity. And then I want to introduce you to these concepts called fast and slow communication design logics, and I'll make it make sense. And then end by talking about how we can and how you can begin to reclaim rest in grind culture. And really throughout, it's about understanding more so that you can make that reclamation. And then again, of course, even more time to talk. So in terms of my why, it began when I was an undergrad at Howard University, and I was such a, I come from a long line of overachievers who are just doers and are always moving to the next thing. And so here it's pictured the Yard, which is an infamous location at Howard where you between classes, right? You're in class and you're learning, and then when we leave class, people are hanging out. Any number of things can happen, and it's part of the
Dr.
undergraduate.
Ballard,
Yes.
we still see the first slide, so it may
Really?
be something going on with the way you're presenting.
Okay. Let's see.
It's showing us kind of the view right before you click like start the slideshow. That's kind of what we're seeing.
Really? It's not showing. Okay. Okay. One option that we can do is, let's see. Are you seeing like the overview now?
Okay, yes. When you click it, we can see the one you're talking about.
Okay, but it's not. Okay. We could just do it outside of the typical. Do you want to just do that?
Yeah, that works. That works.
Yeah. Because Keynote can be really tricky with anything, like as opposed to Microsoft PowerPoint. So I'm guessing that Keynote might just, because so you never got past this slide.
Yeah, we never got past the first one, the title slide. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We see it now though. So yeah, so we could do it like
Yeah, let's just do it like this. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay, great. And so some of the things won't work, but it's okay. It's fine. And so yeah, so what I was showing was this image of here at Howard where, rather than having the opportunity to fully engage in everything that the university had to offer in terms of like not just being a student, but there's so much more. I was always running, like you can kind of see the path here, and I was always like rushing back and forth, getting things done, to the point that a friend used to, when they would be hanging out, and it was a whole scene, right? And they would be hanging out and he would stop and like walk really fast to mimic me. And so I clearly had an issue. And at one point I believe in my junior year, I read a book called The Dance of Life, The Other Dimension of Time by Edward Hall. And it changed my life. Like, I recognized that there was more than one way to work with time, to live in time. I had no idea that what I had been enacting really was part of a culture, and that, if it's a culture, then it means you can make a different choice. So I became somewhat obsessed with that. And I then when I went to grad school, so you see in the upper right hand corner, University of California at Santa Barbara. And I went there initially just to get a PhD, to be a management consultant. But you have to do research. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to continue studying time, and monochronic and polychronic time. And I delved deep into Edward Hall's work. And so The Silent Language is another one of the books that he wrote, many. And before it was all over, I was like, I can't stop studying this. Like, I was bargaining with my advisor, like, hey, Sean, I was bargaining, like, I'll just do research on the weekends because I really do want to still do this, but I want to go over here and get this money. And ultimately I decided that, yeah, this is my life's work. And so this is my why, and this is what chronemics is about. So chronemics, as Lance said, it's just the study of time as it's bound to human communication. So it's not like in our head, it's not about like some psychological experience, but it's about how we are creating we're creating time through our communication behaviors, through our comments and our discussions and our connecting and our mail and even traditional, right? Not just digital comm, but even traditional comm. We've always been creating it. And so because Hall called this the silent language, right? I was like, well, we need to learn how to speak this. We need to know what we're calling into being through our not only our language, our spoken language, but through all the things we do. And so this is what I want to talk to you about. So here's a simple question, and the answers are going to be up here, because let's see if I press play just on this one, because I don't want you to, let me see if I do it quickly. Can you see everyday example? What is a deadline? Do you see that?
Yeah, we see it. We don't see it in full play mode, but just in
You don't see it in full play mode?
No, but yeah, we see it in the way you just had it before, though.
Oh, okay. Then let me just exit that. Okay, so you're gonna have the answer. But let's just say you don't have the answer about what. So what, if you're not reading don't read the definition. What is a deadline? We all, I'm sure, have used that word this week. I had an email this morning where someone used that word. It's not a word I use anymore. But what's a deadline? What does it mean? An expectation of completion. Okay. And you're welcome to use your voice as well. But okay, an expectation of completion. Anyone else? Oh, right there. Yeah, you can unmute. Okay. What do you think of when you think of a deadline? Like, what comes to mind?
Firstly, procrastination, because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I have to, can I wait, or can I have to get started on this right now?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Are we being honest, right?
Yeah, because you have other stuff to fit in, right? So you're like, okay, when I can do these other things, I can enjoy like other parts of my life. And this is the thing. A deadline literally was a line around a military prison at which if you passed over this line, you would be shot and killed. So is it any wonder that when we talk about deadlines, we aren't like delighted, right? To begin this, like this whole, so much of the language we use and the assumptions we have don't lend themselves, right, to us engaging with really ultimately what I'll describe is just life. It's just life, but we take it and then we make it into something that it's not inherently. So today's an opportunity to reflect on, like, does it have to be that? Is that the only way? So yeah, it was literally a dead line. And so, okay, someone else is joining. And so what I say then is, right, if we're speaking this language, then we need to have chronemic literacy. And what you don't see down here, that the animation is not going to let me show you, but because if we don't get into like what is below the surface, we just think, like I just thought it was truth, that if I wanted, I mean, and I graduated with like a 3.96 GPA. Like I was not playing around, because I felt like, well, if I wanted to get into the top grad school, this is what has to happen. And certainly the grades, yes, that was important, but the way I was doing it was the way I was taught, which is you just hustle, you grind. And I felt like I was showing up in the way that was necessary to do that. And so to me, it was truth, but what really, it was just an assumption that I was making that is hidden, because Hall says time is part of our basic underlying level of culture. It is hidden on purpose. Okay, so this is what we will unearth. I will in a few more slides, and then we'll continue to talk, but this is what we need to unearth so that we do recognize that it's not the truth, that it's just one way of being. And so let's think about this around cultural narratives on productivity. Again, you're going to see everything at once, so that's okay. We're in good company, right? So if you think about an iceberg and like the part that you can see, when we think of time from an industrial era perspective, what we think of time as is the clock, and that's it. Like, it's just like, it's the calendar, it's the clock, that's what time is. But in reality, when we are seeing time as the clock, what we're not seeing, what's below the surface, is that we view life as being designed around time, because clocks are here literally for us to design our life around them, to like, this is a way of relating to each other. And the mechanized clock was, the R&D for the mechanized clock was for us to literally work around that time, and so that we'd all have the same time, and so that we could coordinate. And there's wonderful things that come out of the clock, right? So we have global travel that comes through having it. We couldn't, and part of the calls and the R&D came from there's a great museum in London at Greenwich Mean Time. Right there's a beautiful museum about like how we needed this, like maritime, like this is a both like sort of a national security issue, and it's also, hey Layla, what is that sound? My life is just happening all right here. My daughter just came home from an appointment, and it's quite a commotion, and my mom's here, and I'm not going to hide this because I don't just work in industrial time. So at any rate, so clocks are great, and they're designed, when we think of the clock as time, we are led to design our life around that. And then also the other piece of that is we see, like I thought time was what productivity is. Like if I want to be productive, it's through time. Okay. That's what I'm going to describe as a fast communication design logic. Just one way. The other is a slow communication design logic. And let me tell you more about that. That is what drives us in pre-industrial time, and I argue now post-industrial time as well. Like, we see this more. And what is time in that regard? Time is the task, because that's all it really is. It's like the task. Like, I'm here, we're here, things are happening with the dog out here, and that's actually what time is. Like, this clock, this is great, but this is what time really is. And so from a slow communication design logic, time gets designed around your life, not the other way around. And process is the key to productivity, knowing the right process. So let's get into this more. So that's a slow communication design logic. And by the way, both are designed to get things done, and to get things done in a timely fashion. But they go about it very differently, and as a result have very different implications for our bodies, our lives, our minds, our well-being. Okay, so we're right now in the middle of both. We're still clearly, even though we're not in the Industrial Revolution, still fully focused on clocks. That has not left, and it's not going anywhere. But what was here before clocks is still true. Process is still what drives productivity. Relationships are the original means of task accomplishment. That's how we get things done, is through others. And so if that's true, we then need a new design for time. And let's talk about what we mean by design. So design is simply an intervention to realize a preferred outcome and avoid other outcomes. So this is why we designed a clock, is we wanted to intervene so that we could have railway travel and people not crash into each other, right? That's a design. And all designs are driven by some underlying logic. And that's a lay belief, a theory, a hypothesis about how to accomplish something. This comes out, you'll hear your design logic through your should, what you say you should do. Should, by the way, isn't the best kind of use of language, but let's talk about this. What is your answer to this question? And this, I really do need to hear you. I should blank to be productive. What's the should?
I should
Write more.
Oh,
You should what?
I was saying I should block time off on my calendar.
Okay, block time off on your calendar. Okay, calendars. And the Andre?
Write more.
I should write
I
more
should
to
write
be. Okay. Others?
Yeah, I was gonna say plan or use my time more effectively.
Okay, plan. Okay, so some sort of time management, some sort of production. So the writing, the blocking. Okay. Anything else? Any other shoulds around productivity?
I should delete Instagram to be productive.
Okay. Okay. Great. I love that. Right. Okay. Okay. And then I saw Sean also said 3 objectives. This is like, you are the overachiever, Sean. Where are you? What did you say again? It went away. I saw Sean's. Do you see it, Lance? What did Sean?
Plan 3 objectives to be
Plan, yes.
productive.
Of course, Sean. Okay, yeah. So what usually we go to, and I'm the biggest time management geek there is. So I'm not saying that that's not also important. Like, but what we go to immediately to be productive is some sort of time management tool, although I love the deleting Instagram because that's a little bit different than time management. We'll talk about that. But so that is, there's an underlying logic there around that time is what's really driving that, your use of time is what's driving your productivity. And so that's neutral for right now. So let's come back to that. Here's some other design logics, and you can tell me whether they reflect a fast or a slow design logic. So we're building a car while we're driving it. Is that a fast or a slow logic? Like how we should do things? You just go and you just figure it out. Is that fast or slow? Yeah, fast for sure. Yeah, it's fast for sure, right? Because it's like it's all focused on like doing as the path, and the task is that's, or not the task itself, but the speed of the task. John Wooden said, "Be quick, but don't hurry." Is that a fast or slow? Is that based upon, if we go back to, right, what the difference is, right? Designing life around time. Time is the key to productivity versus time designed around life, and process. Process is the key to productivity. When you hear John Wooden, "Be quick, but don't hurry," what's that?
Slow.
Yeah, that's slow because it's about process. I guess it could be considered slow. Seems like you get to set your own pace. Yes, yes. West African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. So here's a should. Should, right? If you want to go far, go together. Is that fast or slow based upon process? So that's, I think, sort of the key. Yeah, Natalie, thank you. It's slow, right? Because you're focusing on the task and you're focusing on the process, and time gets designed around your life as opposed to you designing yourself around time. And then move fast and break things. People don't often look at the rest of the quote, but the rest of that quote is, unless you are breaking stuff, you are not moving fast enough. So pretty obviously fast, right? Like it's all about the clock and the process, to hell with process. So these are some different ways of thinking about fast versus slow chronemic designs and underlying logics. I think I'm going to skip going a little bit more into each of those because we could come back to that. And so a key piece of this that's process versus time that I want to point out is that we need to separate time and the clock from temporality. So I would never say, it's also embedded in music, like, let me see. Take your time. Yeah, take your time. Don't rush. Yes, that is a slow, but it's really effective, right? It's slow, but super effective. And so when we think about that, thank you, Sean, that was perfect. It was a perfect example of temporality, because temporality exists. Time is fully designed, but temporality exists without our intervention. It is process, it is life, it is aging, right? It is birth and death. All of that is what's temporal, and that's not a design. But time is fully designed. And if you want to move from hustle culture, the most effective work process designs time around temporality. And I'm almost done here because I just talking at you isn't as fun as talking with you. Am I following you? Yeah, I'm looking at the run of show. We're right on schedule. And so as other examples in terms of separating time from temporality is what defines a process. It is the process. It's the event, it's the activity. So like a day, not designed, we didn't design that. It is the way the earth, right? Not exactly 24 hours a day, because that's why we have leap year or leap. It actually is why we have leap years, but also we have leap seconds every January 1st. They add a couple seconds because it's not perfectly 24 hours a day, but in general, like that's just how it is. Like that's the temporality, is we have 24 hours in a day, nothing that we've done or can do to change that. Time, however, though, that's where we have leverage. Time are the symbolic markers that we use to point toward that process, that event, that activity. So like an appointment, making an appointment, having the 3 things to do, having the 3 objectives, having writing goals, all of those things, that's where our time comes in. And we do need time to get things done. It is necessary, but we can choose our time more wisely is the key, is that it doesn't have to just be that right? It's what's the container and what we're offering to it. So going back to that, whereas we see time like the clock, this is time. So we just design our life around it. Whatever time someone tells us, we just fit around it, and we just push as hard and get as much time in as we can if we want to be productive. In contrast, with a slow design logic, you're saying, okay, so I have 24 hours in a day. Now let me design my time, the things that I'm going to do, right, to be productive. Let me design those in a way that fits with my life. And we're all going to have different lives. And I'll give you an exercise to close with in one moment. We all have different lives. And so it's having time fit around that life. And in that case, we're always thinking about process. Process is key to productivity. Relationships are process, right? Relationships require the task. How do we get things done in a task? It's through some kind of relationship. Even if it's a solo task, you learned that through some other relationship. And probably if you're smart, you're leveraging some kind of relationship to accomplish that task. So process is always going to actually be key to productivity. And it's a misunderstanding when we think that it's all about just moving fast and breaking things. And so talking about rest. Rest is a great example of when slow, right? Because you're stopping, is actually fast, because rest is a process. Rest requires not just, and we all know that you can't even just like overwork and kind of work yourself into a frenzy and then go to sleep, right? There's sleep hygiene that sleep scientists will tell you about, right? It's turning off, like someone said, like getting off of Instagram a certain amount of time before it's time to go to sleep. It's all about like the ways you're thinking in order to get your mind and your body, your nervous system to wind down. And so it's a process, and the benefits of rest, of being rested, we all know, right? We all know that we are not as effective when we are over tired. And I made this mistake for so many years in my career. It was all about time. It was just like, oh, how much work do I have to do? And it was always putting time first and not thinking about the temporal, which the temporal is the circadian rhythm. That's real. That's the only thing that's real. The time, the assignments, the publications, all of that is man-made. But what's real is this body, okay? And we suffer when we don't take that into account. So the exercise I want to leave you with, and Joy knows this. This is from my Time Matters class here at UT. And one of their assignments, called Sleepless, is to get, for 7 days, get a full night's sleep. Saying this out loud, a full night's sleep for a week. So, and that could be, for some of us, that's 10 hours. Some people, it might be 8 hours, but no one is at 5, right? So there's really no evidence that anybody, because again, this is temporality. We're not making this up. This is just what is true. So a full night's sleep. And so I asked students to try to figure out what does it mean to be rested? What's a full night's sleep for your body? Figure that out for 7 days and then reflect. That's where the timepiece comes in. That's where the cultural norms come in. Reflect on what has to change. What did you have to do differently to make that happen? What times were in your way? What things were you doing, right, that you were creating, that you thought were necessary to productivity? What times are in your way to get that? But then also, what times do you gain when you do that? This was very eye-opening and rude. Joy So Joy was my TA, my fellow academic scholar, Joy. And yes, students would sometimes get pissed off when they would see this assignment because they were like, I have so much to do, Dr. Ballard. How dare you? And then I knew they were actually taking it seriously. So I loved it because they would get very pissed. Like, I have too much to do. I can't do this assignment right now. I have too many things to do. Sleep. What are you talking about? Like, what? How am I going to do that? And I said, always, the assignment is for you to try. And then for you to reflect. And if you can't do it, and so I say the same to you. If you're like, no, I can't do that, at least reflect on why you can't, right? So what times are in your way? And then when you get that sleep, see what times you gain. So that is let's see, can I go to? So thank you very much. I just would love to talk more, but this gives you a little bit of background about how I think about time, rest, and grind culture.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Ballard. Thank you. Yeah, any other any comments or thoughts that folks have had as a part of the presentation? Kaylin, here you go.
Trying to see if my camera will work. Oh, there it goes. There's not a lot of light in here, but anyway.
That's okay.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Dr. Ballard. I don't know that I've heard of chronemics before and haven't really thought about time and productivity in this way. So I thank you for sharing some of what you've learned in your own life experiences and research with us. Something I wanted to comment on is around this time last year, I went through a process of just like learning to get more healthy and change my habits, get more water, get more sleep. And I did notice, like, when I did make sleep and rest a priority, I would put my phone away and put it not at arm's reach, but like across the room. It gave me more time to journal and reflect on the day. And I do sort of a type of gratitude journaling. I would do that. I started, instead of playing games on my phone to go to sleep, I played actual card games, like solitaire games that I learned from social media, but I made sure to note the instructions away from social media so that I could do it. And learn different versions of solitaire to just like get my mind to do something I enjoy. It took me back to my childhood. I loved playing games. I'm an only child, so solitaire was my only option in many cases. And so it did change my pace of rest and life. And then when I would wake up, I'd feel more rejuvenated and not like I'm just rushing to, okay, now I have to hurry up and get this done and take my dog out and fix my food and do all these things. Like, I was rested and I could get up and move more slowly and not feel so frantic and leave and still get to work early and be like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I didn't want to get here so early. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. And don't you feel so much more powerful and agentic when you're rested? Like, you can actually you can conquer things when your body is rested because you've given it what it needs.
Yeah, and I mean, I would take that time for doing like morning devotionals or prayers or whatever that I wasn't doing when I'm not giving myself a full night's sleep because I'm hitting snooze and I don't want to get up. And I'm dreading going to do the next thing. Where instead, when I'm rested, I can give myself time to focus on what my priorities are and what I actually want to, what I'm looking forward to, not just like what I have to do.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much.
Dr. Ballard, I wanted to comment and share that your presentation hits home for so many reasons. I especially appreciate how you conceptualize the relationship between productivity, our relationship to time, and then how we see ourselves as participants of it, because we don't own it, we're just participants in it. And it made me think about ways human expression has emanated that sort of perspective. We see it in performance, we see it in commercials, we see it in over FaceTime conversations, and now it has embedded itself into social media sort of platforms where timestamps are becoming part of the way that we remember, recapture, reorganize time. And then also I'm starting to see presence of the take a break sort of momentum within certain social media platforms where the number of times you probably be scrolling for a couple of hours and there'll be like an interrupter that will say, hey, we noticed that you're doing a lot of scrolling, so take a break, go do something else, and you're gonna feel a little bit more better. Or as the folks in my community will say, go touch some grass or go walk
Yeah.
outside or do something else. But it lets us know that time is more than just productivity. It's really a relationship with yourself and how you center your priorities, and how it has become such an important but unrecognized element in our lives. So just you sharing this and kind of having me to think about it, it's definitely helped me to slow myself down when it comes to the work, being the overachiever that I'm not trying to be anymore. So I'm
Good,
doing
please.
a lot.
Since I met Sean, since the first time I met Sean, I was like, you're doing too much, you're working too much. Do you remember that? We were on the
Yes, I
Dean's
have.
Council, and I
Yeah.
was like, nope, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. We want
I know.
you around for the long haul,
Oh,
Sean.
right, exactly. So I recall that, and every day I've taken a step back and gotten better
Good.
with my management and my relationship with it. So thank you for this presentation.
Oh, thank you for being here. Thanks.
Mhm.
Andre?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, thank you. I really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you for presenting it. My question is if you'd like to share your scholarly opinion, but no, if you want to make it a little not too much personal, but a little personal.
Yeah.
What lessons learned while doing your research as a practitioner scholar?
Mhm.
What takeaway did you glean from your research that helped you to have a good work-life balance as a academic professional, or I think as an academic scholar with
Yeah.
publishing and all that?
Right. Well, listen, I'm still learning it. I mean, I'm part of the same culture. I grew up in the same culture that you did. Culture is really powerful, right? So I think the main thing I learned is to uh, the main thing I learned is reflection, to stop because I get caught up, and to step back and reflect. And so I do really like the example, is it Kaylin mentioned around
Yes, that's right. It's Kaylin.
okay, Kaylin. I tell you, a daily gratitude practice is one of the most powerful ways to reflect. And because here's another piece about the temporality that I was saying, like that we don't design, but that we are, is our nervous system is a big part of this. And so gratitude, there's research on all of the physiological and psychological benefits of it. And I think one of the things that it does is it's just a place to stop and reclaim your power in time, and to calm that nervous system and say, actually, things are okay. Like I tell my students, we are evolved in this fight or flight, the way our bodies work, and we look for problems and threats, and then we look to, like, how can we conquer these things for our survival. This is just how we're hardwired. And since we don't have, in general, wild animals coming at us that we are having to, like, decide, right, fight or run, but that we have time. Like, time now is what, right, how we make our money in general. Through the Industrial Revolution, we traded time for money. And so we're constantly looking for the ways, like, that time is a threat to us. So the way so to answer your question, the thing that I've learned is if I can just stop and see that, okay, things are, like, I can call my nervous system, okay, things are okay. Yeah, there might be this laundry list of things. And I do have a laundry list of things. I have way more things right now in this moment to do than I fully know exactly how to, like, I would love to be further ahead and getting various things done. But when I reflect on, the fact that at a fundamental level, there's these basic other things that I'm grateful for. I'm able to put time in its place and in perspective. So that's what I've learned. So I've learned through what I know about time, through my lived experience, a gratitude list I cannot recommend highly enough. It takes a few minutes. I like to do like 7 things because it really pushes you to really think deeply and inhabit that moment. And no day I've gone through the worst things in my life with a gratitude list, and it is the only reason that I'm just like still walking and talking, because I don't let the time get like sort of be in charge or be the only thing. Does that answer your question, Andre?
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joy?
Yes, I guess my question is, when we talk about slow time and we talk about all these things, does it really make us realize that multitasking isn't real? We're just kind of like putting our time in 2 places, which we actually can't do.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And that is actually one of the other things that I actively work on, is just not multitasking. I'll go in phases. I mean, our media drive us to multitask, like it's built in. So when I have a break from it, and as you know, once a year I just go away and I have no technology, I have no internet connection. And I find that when I come back from that, I'm able to like just one thing at a time, even with family, when they're that all at once, I'm like one thing at a time. And it does start to go away, honestly, where I find myself, oh, I'm multitasking again. I'm feeling that sense of time scarcity. So it's like the constant going back and reflecting, because we're part of this culture. The technology is literally meant to make us multitask, whether we wanted to or not. It's meant to do that. Someone's like, I'm multitasking right now. And yeah. And so absolutely, Joy, it definitely helps us to see that it's really not a real thing. Like, it's not something that we're designed to do or that we do well. All of the data say that. So thank you.
Joy, is that a new hand or
Oh,
an old
okay.
hand?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Natalie.
it's a new hand. This was,
Oh.
I was thinking of, Kaylin was talking about the things that they've done. One thing, I don't do it as much as I used to, but I would do a done list instead of a to-do list.
That's
because
great.
because it makes you think about how we use our time. Because I would get to the end of the day and I'd be like, I didn't do anything today. But then I had to think about, like, you washed the dishes, you did the laundry, you swept. You might not have done the things on my actual to-do list, but in order to do those, I would just make me reevaluate what productivity is, because it makes you feel better about yourself when you're like, oh, I did do things. So like sometimes to like lower my anxiety, like you're saying, we are on this clock wheel, writing down all the things I've done in the day makes me realize like I am using creating my day the way I need to.
That is actually such a great idea. And I realize, don't you, it sounds like you're also saying the list is like the temporality. It's like the things that are working behind the scenes to allow the time to even be the case, like to go to the next thing. Yeah, that's wonderful. Oh, the whiz. Ooh, you're right. Sean, I'm just reading this. Oh, good, Natalie. That is awesome. That is awesome. I'm just reading. Grind culture is trying to kill connection and social time. Absolutely. Yeah. Had more to speak on this. Okay. Let's see. So I was really back to that relationships are key to process. Building community is so important, but grind is trying to kill connection and social time. Any takeaways about that? Um, just that, like, I look at multiple case studies where you see, so like even agile, so to Natalie's question, even agile, that people totally misunderstand like agile development, like right for software development, that if you look at the manifesto, it literally is like relationships are the key to getting things done faster, to getting things done better. And faster sometimes is not faster, that actually taking your time is faster. That's why I I hesitated, on one hand, like using slow and fast, because I don't want to suggest that slow doesn't get things done as quickly, but that I went ahead with it because it's about the idea that we have some slower time in order to go fast. And so the relationships, that was the key part of the agile methodology, was building community and building relationships, believe it or not. It was all about working with the client to get things done. So, and then Andre, yes, you have your hand back up.
Yes, hi. I guess, well, I'm assuming everyone has their PhD or advanced level degree, and this is one thing kind of struggle with
Mhm.
in a positive way. The add to the presentation is grind culture, and really being pressured by departments to finish in 4 years. I'm assuming a lot of PhD programs in communication studies are 4 years. But really being pressured to publish, attend conferences, and managing personal finances or not having much finances at all,
Yeah, yeah.
and then having to like struggle worry about, okay, how I'm gonna pay my summer bills. Georgia
Right.
heard my many stories when I was at Georgia. But my question is, how what advice do you give your PhD students on managing, their time, not reclaiming their time, but also managing their academic life and not falling to the pressure of other faculty members who pressure them to do stuff even though they're not their advisor, which was my experience again when I was in Georgia.
Oh wow, people who weren't okay. Yeah, so here's the thing about the academy is every single scholar has a different path in terms and a different strength. I'm not and never have been a can do a million things and still move forward. That is just not me. And I do have colleagues who can just do more. They just can. Their bodies are sturdier and they just can just go with with no, at least in the short term, no stopping. And so what I say to all of my graduate students is, well, one, I think having a long-term plan is more important, like so that you're pacing yourself and you're just looking at certain milestones, like certain conferences and so the long term allows you to find the process as opposed to simply just do as much as you can, because those students burn out. So I think a wiser approach for faculty who even want people to get more done would be to recognize that pushing tends to burn students out. I've seen it over and over again. And so yeah, I guess that would be am I giving the advice to the student? Yeah, to the student about is that you have to run your own race, right? And so we're all at different levels. And when I used to teach like the introductory graduate course for our grad students, I used to give the marathon metaphor, and that in a marathon, you focus on your PR, not other people's, because everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. And so you can only run your own race and make it a long-term race. And what do you need for a marathon? You need to nurture that mind and body. You can't burn out fast. So that would be mind that you just have to do what you have to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And best wishes to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ballard, and thank you everybody who came today. Before we go, I wanted to share just a couple of things. I'm going to share my screen so that way you all can see what I'm talking about. So the lunch and learns that we provide are free for the public. However, they do come at a cost, and so if you're interested in supporting our work, feel free to scan the QR code here and find a way to support us. I'll also drop that link in the chat for you all too, so that way you all have it, so that way you can support. So the funds for this organization, they go to, again, giving back to the community, how we provide these types of events, learning opportunities, learning experiences for folks. And so, and with that in mind, for next month, we have our session booked with Samaji Best, who is a public policy strategist and community leader. We'll be talking about power and policy, what's at stake for us all. And so if you signed up for today, you will get the invitation to register for next month event in the coming days. And so that's what we're talking about for next month. There have been a lot of policies that have gone through this legislative session, both at the state level and at the federal level. And so it's important for us to know what has gone through. There's been a lot of things that have transpired in the echo chamber. And so with that being said, there's information that gets lost. And so we have someone here who's going to come to tell us about all of that stuff. So so that is for July. For August and September, August is back to school. And so we're talking about the importance and the power of HBCUs with Dr. Mary Beth Gassman. She's a distinguished professor at Rutgers University. She also leads this the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Institute for Leadership, Equity, and Justice. In September, on September 10th, we have Leah Littman. She is a law professor at the University of Michigan and New York Best Time-selling author. Her latest book, which came out a few weeks ago, actually, is How the Supreme Court Runs on Conservative Grievance, Fringe Theories, and Bad Vibes. And so Professor Littman was on The Daily Show a couple of nights ago. And so so we have her booked for September. And so thank you all again for taking time for us, for this conversation. We appreciate it. Be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to go back and view today's session, this video will be posted on YouTube for you. So thank you so much for your time and look forward to seeing you next month.
Bye-bye. Thank you.